This is my path, my journey. I'm willing to explain it all to you guys. No holding back anything. I just hope you're ready for the experience, and I just hope you can handle it.
Disclaimer. This video was intended for an adult audience only. Viewer discretion is advised. Anything you see in this video, do not attempt to recreate. This video was created for documentation purposes only. Our purpose is education. We are not justifying or glamorizing using substances. What we are doing is educating people on the substances that we have used and what it has done for us. Do not recreate or do not redo the substances we have done just because we talk about
it. What's going on? So, it's early in the morning. I haven't even done my morning routine yet, but I wanted to make this video because I was sitting here thinking. I was researching things about shamanism, and then I was watching this one guy talk about be your own shaman, basically, and as he was explaining these things, a lot of these shamanism is very, I could see why it's hard to pin down shamanism as an actual religion, because it's not as organized. It's not as structured as all these other religions are. A lot of religions are structured, which makes them a religion. But there's a lot of people that, you know, I feel like shamanism as a whole, you know, a lot of these philosophies all match up. It doesn't matter where you get it from. Like, what I've noticed is, researching shamanism, I've figured out that by listening to the shamans, the actual shamans down in South America, I mean, nowadays we have the internet. You know, nowadays you can message, you can get in contact with people. You can listen to, nowadays shamans, there's recordings of shamans talking about their experiences, talking about what it's like to be a shaman, talking about their life, their childhood, this. Now, shamanism is hard to pin down because it's not just one thing. The shamans in Africa are different than the shamans in Peru. The shamans in Peru are even different than the shamans in Colombia. You know, I don't know, like, even though they're right next to each other. You know, in Peru, there are many different types of shamans. You know, some shamans take ayahuasca, and I think they call them ayahuasqueros. I might be butchering that with pronunciation, but there's a lot of different types of shamans. I mean, there are some shamans that don't even use ayahuasca, and they just know the medicinal herbs. There are some shamans that don't even know anything about herbs, really. Like, I mean, there are some, you know, the Asian shamans are much different, and I really wanted to preference this video not just on shamanism, but how it's kind of, now, becoming a modern day shaman is what I used to say I was trying to do, right? I was on this path to become a modern day shaman. And that's kind of how this YouTube channel started in a way. You know, it was like, I was just explaining my experiences with the spirit molecule, and then traveling dimensions and meeting light beings and downloading information from that dimension and trying to bring it here, and I don't know, trying to apply it to myself and my life and help, you know, I don't know, just if that knowledge could be accessible, you know, it could change everything. But this is my thing though, like being a modern day shaman. That was my thing. But now, like, the path has expanded, but I've realized everything is shamanism. That's why there's different types of shamans. I mean, everything is shamanism. And I think that shamanism is more of a way of life than a religion, because it's the way you think, you know. It's like, I don't know, it's also the plants, connecting to the plants, connecting to the animals, connecting to, you know, giving thanks to the animals, giving thanks to the plants when you eat them, giving thanks to the animals if you eat them, giving, I don't know, just really appreciating the souls of these things, you know, getting deep down into the spirit world, the spirit knowledge. I feel like this knowledge is is becoming very rare, which is why I think more people need to focus on direct contact with these experiences. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Don't just listen to what anyone else is saying. Don't just listen to, like, I think that if we just listen to other people's experiences, it's possible for the knowledge to get misunderstood, because your dictionary in your head is different than my dictionary in my head, and we might have different definitions of things. And that's the, you know, issue with language and understanding one another. You know, our different minds will create different ideas of what we think this or that is. So I think when it comes to shamanism, you just have to find, if you are a shaman, you have to find your path of shamanism. You know, it's like, so many people are scared to call themselves a shaman, right? Because they think that shamanism is only the Native Americans thing. That's, you know, a lot of people think that shamanism was the Native American religion, and I used to think that too. I used to think that, oh yeah, shamanism, well, it's just the Native American religion. And it's like, no, it's much deeper than that. I mean, it's not just the Native Americans, the Asians, the Africans. I'm pretty sure if you trace it down far, far, far back, because it'd be far, I feel like it'd have to be farther back than everyone else. Even the Europeans probably have shamanism, you know, if you trace it down way back. Because, you know, they feel like the Europeans, you know, they've, you know, with the technology and their mind developed, they got disconnected from Mother Nature first. That's just my personal opinion. And because of that, that's why, you know, they kind of started taking over, you know, took over America, and then, you know, just all this other shit. But that's another video for another time. But what I really wanted to just talk about here is, it's like, being an African descendant, right? Like, I'm black and white. My dad's white and my mom's black. But at the same time, on the outside, most people just look at me and say, oh, he's just black. They don't see the white in me. All they see is the black in me. They see I have an afro. They see, you know, I have darker skin. So what's interesting is, the shitty part, and this is real as fuck, and this is why I say this, because it's like I'm black and white. So I try to be on both sides in a way. I try to stay above. I try to look at both parties and see, you know, because, you know, black people would be like, oh, those white people, and white people would be like, oh, those black people, and, you know, I try to stay on, I try to stay back and look from a different perspective. And what I can see is that when it comes to being a black shaman, honestly, and I don't mean to whatever, but it seems like it's harder to be taken seriously, right? Now, it doesn't, and it's the same thing with women shaman. I feel like we live in a male-dominant society where the male consciousness is kind of running shit right now, which we need to put an end to, but we need to balance shit out. But the male consciousness is running shit right now. So honestly, I feel like there's this imbalance, and this imbalance is suppressing the female shamans. It's suppressing the African shamans. It's suppressing some of the even the white shamans, because, you know, they say, oh, the white man can't be a shaman, oh, this, that, and the third, and that's all BS too. And it's like, there's these race gaps between shamanism, which is an issue. Now, this is the thing with the world, though. This isn't just shamanism. This is the world. I mean, if you look at Christianity, they suppress women, and, I mean, the way they look at women in Christianity is kind of ridiculous. and it's not cool. And the same thing with, I don't know, with Islam, the way they look at women is not cool. Like it's almost like they look at women as a lesser being, and that's fucked up, and that's not the way to go. That's not what we should be doing. And the issue is the same thing kind of links into shamanism as well, where the main reason where it's like the black shamans, I feel like, don't get taken as seriously and kind of get looked at a certain way is because if you think right now about a black shaman, the old black shamans, what are you going to think about? You're going to think about the witch doctors, most likely. The witch doctors, that's what they used to call them, witch doctors. They weren't shamans, they were witch doctors practicing voodoo and that type of shit. Now, it's very misunderstood. It sounds dark. They make it sound dark because that's what these people probably seen when they went to Africa. They seen these shamans on these substances, probably having their experiences. And like I've had many experiences, me and my friend Fi and his wife, and if you guys went full into our experiences, you'd be able to be like, yeah, that's kind of looks kind of dark, from the outside. But it's a misunderstanding of the shamanic experience, and the shamanic experience is light. It is dark. It is all. It's traveling the spirit world. It's traveling your own mind. It's getting rid of your darkness and transmuting it into light. Shamanism is so much deeper than we can ever put into words, because I guess it's all in words, but it's all scattered, right? It's separated. You'd have to understand shamanism as a whole, you'd have to literally research the Asian shamans, the native shamans, the African shamans, and try to research some of the other Siberian shamans, try to research some of the there's many other types of shamans out there, right? Pagans, paganism is basically kind of like a form of shamanism in a way, but it's like these things are basically some of the oldest practices, because the oldest practice is just to connect with plants and to gain knowledge from plants, and that's like the oldest thing humans could possibly do, because it's the most simplest thing humans could possibly do. Well, we'll eat the plant or smoke the plant, and then boom, it happens. Knowledge download, and I think shamanism is just misunderstood. We put it on this weird pedestal where it's like, oh my God, we can't call ourselves shamans, because it's like, no, only, and then people say a shaman has to be taught by a shaman to be a shaman. And I disagree, because who's the human that taught the first shaman? The first shaman didn't learn from a human. The first shaman learned from the plants. A lot of shamans learned from the plants. There's some shamans that just, I don't know, they just get knowledge of the plants. They start getting knowledge. They start downloading knowledge from them and talking to the plants and connecting with them. Because my thing is, one of my theories is that I feel like as a human race, we have relationships with human beings, right? We get a wife, and then we have, we marry our wife, and this is just what America is puts in the box, but I'm just saying that everyone knows that if you're a man, you get a wife, you fall in love, you have kids, and then you have a relationship with your wife, you have a relationship with your kids, you have a relationship with your friends, you have a relationship with your mom. But I feel like as a society, as a human being, I feel like we also need a relationship with a plant. So I feel like every human being should find that one plant that it's just that they just connect with on a deep spiritual level, and they should use that plant, and I just think, that's just my personal opinion and my personal view, of my version of shamanism, because my version of shamanism, what's interesting is it's anyone can come up with their own version of shamanism, because it's really what works for you. Like, what works for me is like the Native Americans came up with dieta. Basically it's like a diet, to help them, connect with certain plants, and like, so they're only connecting with one plant soul at a time. And for me, I love synergy. Like, I love when two plants intertwine together inside of me. I don't know, it's different. It's hard to explain. Like, you can almost relate plants to relationship with humans. It's like, if you have a relationship with a plant, you are connected to it. It gives you knowledge. Sometimes you laugh with it, sometimes you cry with it, sometimes you whatever with it. But it's like, it is, I feel like, alive. Plants are very consciously aware, and we don't realize it because they're on another level of consciousness. But I feel like humans at one point possibly used to be on that level of consciousness, and I feel like we can get back to that level of consciousness. And what I mean is, we probably all used to be on that level of consciousness because at one point shamanism was the majority, was I feel like the religion. It was the spiritual practice. It just was it. And then I feel like science kind of kicked in. Well, realistically, the church kicked in. Religion started kicking in. And the church was suppressing a lot of knowledge, while shamanism was just telling you guys straight, like, yeah, we ate this mushroom and then we got this knowledge. Or, yeah, we mixed this plant with this plant, we brewed ayahuasca together, and now we drink ayahuasca, and I'll drink it. It'll show you what we call our creator. It'll show you what we are talking about spiritual. It'll show you why we have spiritual experiences. Because the main thing with religions that religions leave out is they don't tell you where these people got their spiritual visions. And if you trace back in religion, they mention Syrian root seeds in the Quran. They mention many different psychoactive substances in the Bible, including, frankincense and myrrh. And then they say gold, was the three wise men story. I think gold was ormus, monoatomic gold, which has psychoactive effects on your mind in a way. And very spiritual effects at that. And I just think that it's quite possible that in history they have always used plants, and it's like shamanism's been creeping back in, but religion tried to keep it out, because religion is like saying, religion wants to be the head. The issue is, religion is not the head. Religion is only repeating knowledge of other people's experiences. And in my personal opinion, with no disrespect, I think that the Bible is just a book of trip reports. And, it's like, and this is, and I feel like this is why shamanism isn't looked at as a real religion, because shamanism just tells you what is. But I feel like, to get back to the one issue before I go, shamanism as a whole, I feel like, needs to evolve, because in order for shamanism to survive the next 100 years, it's going to need to evolve. There's going to need to be more modern day shamans. There's going to need to be more people trying to go for it with direct experience, people that get the calling. And that's a shaman. That's a thing that I've seen a lot of Native American shamans talk about, where it's like, they talk about they got the calling. Well, I remember when I got the calling, where it's like, for some reason I heard the word DMT and I was like, dude, I have to. I just have to. I don't know why. I don't fucking know why. It's the same thing that happened with salvia. Like, I did salvia was my first psychedelic experience. And I watched these people do it, and like, it was like, I've never done anything like that. I was like, oh my god, these dumbasses. But for some reason, I felt like I had to do it. Like, and it was just like, I got this calling, like, no, you have to try this. You have to do this. Like, and I feel like that's the calling of the shaman. Like, that's when Mother Ayahuasca, or what I call her, is calling you to do your duty. You know, the universe is calling you, basically. And I think that if you get that calling, you should pick up the phone. But, yeah. This has been my video on shamanism. I think that we need to fix... we need to get rid of discrimination. We need to get rid of all this other shit. We need to... so as a human race, we need to, I feel like, listen to somebody's point of view before we judge them. Who gives a fuck what they look like? Like, because I know I get judged a lot because, like, I'm tatted up. I'm a tatted up black guy. And it's like, so a lot of people expect me to whatever. But then I'll come and talk to somebody about, like, hey, like, have you guys heard what Elon Musk has been doing? Like, I'll just start talking about some deep shit, and everyone's like, damn. Like, I don't know. I just think that there's stereotypes in the world that kind of hold knowledge back. And, you know, it's no longer going to be, no offense, but it's no longer going to be the white guy at the front of the room speaking anymore. It's now the Asian guy at the front of the room speaking. It's now the black guy at the front of the room speaking. It's now the black guy with the white guy at the front of the room speaking. It's now the white guy at the front of the room speaking. It's now the mixed guy at the front of the room speaking. It's now the woman at the front of the room speaking. It's now the black woman at the front of the room speaking. So it's now the mixed woman at the front of the room speaking. Now what I'm getting at is that it is now intermixed. Everyone is starting to be equal. Slowly but surely, things are starting to change. Now, I think that is the true shamanism creeping in, because the issue is with all fucking beliefs. I don't care what belief it is. From shamanism to Buddhism to Hinduism to Christianity to Islam to Jewish to who else am I forgetting? Like, and anyone else. Like, I think that everything needs to change when it comes to discrimination and different views. They all have their own little discrimination things. You know, some of them look at women a certain way. Some of them look at black men a certain way. Some of them look at gay men a certain way. Now, all that needs to fucking change. All that needs to go away. We are all equal. Now, true shamanism, I feel like, is basically, we are one. We are one. We know the connection that we have. We know the connection that we have with the planet. And I feel like this is what we're supposed to do as a human race. It's supposed to evolve. It's not going to be the same it was 100 years ago. It will never be that. It can't. Shamanism 100 years, like the way it was 100 years ago, it can't survive in this technological world. It just doesn't. They kind of clash. So you have to find a way to balance them in a complete yin and yang. And I feel like in order to do that, you have to find your own way, find your own path, and follow it. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everyone. Much love.